Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Like the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, the present national and sectoral response to the COVID-19 pandemic is sure to leave Nigeria's health sector much better than it is presently. At least 2 hospitals and a world-class diagnostics center are to be built in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. Quite a number of other details came with this pronouncement by GMD Mele Kyari, and talking about being exemplary, NNPC retail outlets continue to lead the compliance crusade as it affects PPPRA's April price template for petrol. Plus, deployment of automation app for marketers and some other details are part of the issues of engagement with Musa Lawan, PPMC's managing director. It's all in the details. Thanks for joining us. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
Let me express the gratitude of the President and the people of Nigeria to the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum, Group Managing Director of NNPC, and all their partners within the oil and gas industry for this noble gesture and course they have decided to pursue.
The more than 600 NNPC retail stations across the country fully complies with the PPPRA's directive, neither selling below 123 naira 50 kobo per litre nor above 125 naira per litre in its stations. NNPC assures of availability of petroleum products to guarantee a hitch-free celebration of Easter and beyond. With Petroleum Products Marketing Company holding more than 2.6 billion litres of petrol, the NNPC commends industry unions and associations that have ensured hitch-free supply and distribution of petroleum products across the country. The corporation is collaborating with stakeholders in the power sector to ensure availability of gas to guarantee steady supply of power during the lockdown period and beyond. Wishing all our compatriots a blessed Easter. Maintain social distancing. Stay safe. Announcer Dr. Kenny Obateru.
Nigeria has joined other OPEC Plus counterparts in a historic curtailment of crude oil production to rebalance and stabilize the global oil markets. Nigeria is participating in the pursuit of our commitment to the framework of the Declaration of Cooperation entered on 10th December 2016 and further endorsed in subsequent meetings, as well as the Charter of Cooperation signed in July 2019. Nigeria joined OPEC Plus to cut supply by up to 10 million barrels per day between May and June 2020, 8 million barrels per day between July and December 2020, and 6 million barrels per day from January 2021 to April 2022, respectively. Nigeria will now be producing 1.495 million barrels per day and 1.579 million barrels per day, respectively, for the corresponding periods in the agreement. This is in addition to condensate production of between 360 to 460,000 barrels per day, of which are exempt from OPEC curtailment. The agreement awaits closeout of ongoing engagement with Mexico to agree on its full participation.
Every economic sector, Mr. Chairman, has been impacted by this silent beast. Permit my language. This is clearly evident in the global oil market. Every producer, many of whom are developing nations, has been impacted. No one is immune.
The Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has prescribed a new business model for the management of the nation's refineries after their rehabilitation. This was disclosed by the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, in an interview in Abuja. He stated that upon completion of the ongoing rehabilitation exercise, the services of a company will be procured to manage the plants on an operations and maintenance O&M basis.
You uncouple the plans, you decide what to do. We say, look, let's just know what is wrong, and what we need to do. And in respect to Port Harcourt Refinery today, we know exactly what is wrong. And on the basis of that, we have also secured financing for getting it done. And on top of that also, we're going to have an O&M contract. NNPC won't run it. We're going to get somebody who will give us a guarantee that this plant will run for a period of time on the basis of a fee that run this for us. Let's try a different model of getting this refinery strong. We are going to apply the same process to the other two refineries so that at the end of the day, once we are done with the fixing of this on the basis of a full scoping, getting a private partnership to put their money into it, and ultimately we will allow the shareholders to decide what they want to do with it. Our prescription will be that make it the LNG kind of structure.
Also speaking in another interview, the NNPC's helmsman said the decision to finally end the fuel subsidy regime is in the interest of ordinary Nigerians, as it would free up funds for the various tiers of government to develop basic infrastructure in the education, health, transport, and other sectors for their benefit.
Mr. President is very clear about his concern for the ordinary people. There's a desire to make sure that value is delivered to this country and to the ordinary people in particular. There's a desire to deliver on infrastructure, medical services, education, and so many things that we're all aware of. He's very passionate about it.
He said the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timipre Silva, was championing policies to deepen the adoption of LPG for domestic consumption, adding that widespread adoption of LPG usage was the best solution to kerosene supply challenges in the long term.
Many Nigerians are not aware that LPG is cheaper than kerosene, more efficient, more effective, and also cheaper than kerosene in the long term. And that penetration will become like a replacement for kerosene. Kerosene, as you may be aware, it is also aviation fuel. In many instances, they interchange for each other.
As part of its contribution to build a robust healthcare for Nigeria, the oil and gas industry has expressed its readiness to embark on the construction of at least 2 hospitals and a world-class diagnostics center in each of the 6 geopolitical zones in the country, in addition to the 250 temporary bed facilities that it offers to support government's effort in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, made this known while speaking on different television stations in Nigeria. Malam Kyari stated that the hospitals and the world-class diagnostics centers would be an addition to the regular corporate social responsibility CSR initiatives of the upstream and downstream companies, as well as service providers operating in the oil and gas industry.
The initial commitment was for 11 billion naira, and that is going to come in kind. And of course, there's clear governance around this, and as that conversation was ongoing, our other partners joined us, the local oil companies, the trading companies also joined us, and that's what grew the number from what we announced last week to what is happening today now, which is about 21 billion naira as at this moment. And it's growing, potentially it's going to grow.
Malam Kyari said that all commitments from the industry would be collected in kind and handed over to the Presidential Task Force for the Control of Coronavirus COVID-19, stressing that the petroleum industry would use its clear and transparent governance framework, collection and distribution processes already in place in respective companies to support the country's healthcare infrastructure in these troubling times.
The first line of intervention for everyone is the medical consumable, which includes face masks, testing kits, and so on, ventilators, hospital beds, and making sure that we provide temporary isolation centers. And on top of that also, we'll create permanent medical infrastructure, which will be of use today and also will be of use after the pandemic has gone away. And we believe that this pandemic will go away.
The NNPC GMD stated that the distribution of the committed items will be under the stated 3 thematic areas of the initiative, adding that considering supply chain constraints, all the items would not be delivered and distributed at once. According to him, NNPC and partners have a streamlined program for the distribution of the items on a weekly basis to every nook and cranny of the nation from the 3 clearinghouses in Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. Responding to a question on whether or not the government was still paying subsidy on petrol, Kyari said, quote, "There's no subsidy and it is zero forever," end of quote. adding that going forward, there would be no result to either subsidy or under-recovery of any kind.
The modulation mechanism will come into play such that the regulator, which is the PPPRA, will on continuous basis advise the band of prices that will be realistic for marketers to work so that the regulator can watch that. But the regulator is not there to control the price, it's not there to fix price, it's not there to give a fixed price for a month. No, that's not what happens anywhere else in the world. What people do is to make sure that there is no exploitation of ordinary people.
Malam Kyari stated that the NNPC was a transparent organization, saying the National Oil Company was probably the only company in the world that publishes its monthly financial and operations report every month. The Nigerian Petroleum Development Company (NPDC), an upstream subsidiary of the NNPC, has donated personal protective and medical equipment worth millions of naira to the Delta State government. The donation of the items by the subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in Asaba is in support of Delta State government's effort at combating the COVID-19 pandemic. The managing director, NPDC Engineer Mansour Sambo, represented by the company's manager, community relations, Mr. Dairu Abubakar, presented the items to the state government. Engineer Sambo said the gesture was part of the company's corporate social responsibilities to the states where NPDC has operations.
This presentation is made in view of NPDC's understanding of the prevalent problem that the world is facing, not just in Nigeria or in Delta State.
The Delta State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Modi Ononye, who received the items at the Asaba General Hospital on behalf of the state government, thanked NPDC for the gesture.
Africa. So for us, it is a most welcome gesture, and the government of Delta State are most appreciative of this kind gesture.
The items donated included 5 cartons of face masks, 50 packs of hand gloves, and 300 tubes of disinfectant wipes. Others are 166 cartons of hand sanitizers, 83 cartons of hand wash, and 100 sets of personal protective equipment, among others. A cross-section of Nigerians from various strata of the society has applauded the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation for donating medical equipment worth millions of naira to the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital in Gwagwalada, the Federal Capital Territory, and other state governments. They described the donation as a huge boost in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. For the president of Women in Energy Network Initiative, Fumi Ogwe, the group managing director of the state oil company, Malam Kyari, provided strategic leadership by rallying the entire oil and gas industry to support the nation in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Malam Kyari has also shown leadership by going first as NNPC and donating equipment, medical equipment, to the University of Abuja.
A public health analyst, Dr. Larry Owebia, also commended the NNPC for the humane intervention, noting that the donation was done at the time it was most needed.
The timely intervention of the NNPC is very commendable. Provision of medical commodities, logistics, human resources for health, diagnostic and therapeutic equipment are all necessary at this time.
On her part, Ace broadcaster Nancy Naji said government alone cannot combat the COVID-19 pandemic and that there was need for other corporate organizations and public-spirited individuals to emulate NNPC and its partners in the oil and gas industry to donate more to help in stamping the pandemic out of Nigeria.
Not just only for commendation, but to urge private sector, to urge generous people, to urge even the billionaires to do more than they are doing right now, to help lift our healthcare system in the country.
Mr. Olabode Showumi, a policy analyst, has this to say.
What the IOCs under the leadership of NNPC has done is to indicate thought leadership to the extent that it is not just about the drilling of the oil and the dollars and the cents, but about the ability for the industry itself to add value into the whole strata of the human race.
The NNPC Retail Limited, one of the downstream subsidiaries of the NNPC, has clarified that all its filling stations across Nigeria were selling premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, within the official price band announced by the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency PPPRA for the month of April. The managing director of NNPC Retail Limited, Sir Billy Okoye, disclosed that all of the company's over 600 retail outlets started selling at the new price immediately the Pricing Regulatory Agency came up with the new price band of between 123 naira 50 kobo and 125 naira.
PPPRA, the price regulator of the industry, came out with the price ruling for April 2020, and the price was a band of between 123 naira 50 kobo to 125 naira per liter. What this means is that no station is allowed to sell below or above this band. NNPC retail stations are complying fully.
It disclosed that the company was planning to extend its services to neighboring West African countries, noting that having introduced its high-quality lubricant into the market recently, its goal is to consolidate on that as a state-owned company for the economic benefit of Nigerians.
In our stations today, you go there, not only will you buy products, you buy lubricants, we're also intending that in less than no time, you go there, you have your refreshments, thinking towards going international, taking your company, taking your stations, the NNPC stations, to the West African coast and beyond.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has assured Nigerians of availability of sufficient petroleum products to guarantee hitch-free celebration of Easter. The Managing Director of the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, PPMC, Mr. Musa Lawan, disclosed that due to the restriction of movement order in parts of the country, the daily petroleum products consumption has reduced, thereby boosting the level of products in its stock.
More vessels are coming in laden with petroleum products that will soon be discharging. So there is enough products to last Nigerians 60 days. There should be no panic buying. I want to appeal to Nigerians not to panic buy because there is sufficiency all over the country.
He revealed that the PPMC would soon automate its processes, maintaining that the deployment of the application would reduce face-to-face interactions with marketers and promote transparency of all its operations.
PPMC will be in a state that no marketer has to show up before they can buy products. All they need to do is to download an app on their mobile phone, go in there, source for the products and pay.
I didn't know how to bake. It was Yesab that taught me that. And with that, I can boastfully say I'm a caterer.
Me, for one, I just see this program as if it was designed for me.
When the NNPC says we touch your lives in many positive ways, it is living up to that and its reputation as a corporation that aims to promote academic excellence.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello, my name is Julia Auto. Glad you could join us on the feedback segment of the program. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, went into retailing business of petroleum products since August 2002. This week, our roving camera on the street is asking Nigerians of their experiences with the NNPC retail stations across Nigeria and even the riverine areas.
We patronize NNPC because we believe that if you buy fuel here, they will give you complete and your fuel will not be burning like other filling stations.
They don't adjust their meters here. So we want to believe we are getting the right quantity for what we are paying for.
Here, their liter is a liter.
Thank you very much for that.
You understand? And they have good oil.
You
believe. Some filling stations, if you buy fuel, immediately you leave, you will see your motor begin jacking.
Their pump attendants, they are very receptive, they are very okay. So that's why I like coming here to buy my fuel.
If I want travel, if I come here, full my tank, I don't buy any fuel again until I come back.
I observe personally that when you buy fuel from here, you have the full gauge of your fuel.
Their service whenever you come here, they like you people to be according to your line. If your tank is in this other side and you want to change to the other side, they don't accept that.
LUS is the safe way. You know they disappoint. I like a filling station, NNPC. It's good filling station.
From the several testimonials, the NNPC retail stations are just the best option for petroleum product services. And that's our package for this week. Please stay with us for the other segments of the program.
Hello and thank you for joining us on this informative segment of the program. My name is Abigail Ojobo. Did you know that the Bonga Floating Production Storage and Offloading FPSO vessel operating in Nigeria is one of the world's largest? The Bonga FPSO was built in 2005 and is 3,000 meters long with height of a standard 12-story building. Did you know that it is configured to receive crude from production wells on the seabed in the Bonga field? The oil is processed on board, stored and sent to a single point mooring (SPM). A single point mooring is a floating jetty anchored offshore to allow handling of liquid cargo such as petroleum products for tanker ships. Did you also know that when fully laden with oil, Bonga FPSO weighs 300,000 tons and is held in place by 300 to 500 tons anchors linked by 20 kilometers of mooring lines? Now you know. Please stay tuned for Global Crude Oil Outlook.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Following the organization of the petroleum exporting countries OPEC virtual meeting, Saudi Arabia and Russia have struck a deal on a deep output cut. Brent crude slipped 4.14% to settle at $31.48 per barrel, after earlier hitting a high of $36.40 per barrel. US West Texas Intermediate WTI fell 9.29% or $2.33 to settle at $22.76 per barrel. Earlier, the contract jumped more than 12% to hit a session high of $28.36 international benchmark. Analysts believe that the cut amounts to 10 million barrels per day or 10% of global supplies, with another 5 million barrels per day. The 5 million barrels per day is expected to come from other nations to help deal with the deepest oil crisis in decades. The deal will reportedly last for 2 years, with the cuts implemented gradually. Nigeria, as a member of OPEC, has also pledged its readiness to comply with OPEC's cut. Thanks for watching. I am Owigo Okolo.
The oil industry, under the leadership of NNPC, has come together to contribute their quota to the solution of the problem of COVID-19. And on behalf of the oil industry, on behalf of NNPC, I hereby hand over all the ambulances.
That's been our package for Oil and Gas Forum for this edition. Thanks for joining us. As we're concerned with COVID-19, there's nothing to worry about petrol. It's available everywhere. The best medicine is still keep safe and be safe.